Jessie. Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to achieve this soft sombre color. So this particular mannequin head started with about a level 7, and she wanted to have a nice summery bright color that would softly transition from that level 7 to about a level 9. A lot of clients come in and they want something with dimension, they want something different than they have now, but they don't want the stripy 90s style hairdo. So this is a great way to allow your client to be able to go from their one all over color, maybe their natural color, to having something with more dimension that isn't as high maintenance as a traditional highlighting. They can come in maybe once every 12 weeks or so, even longer if they want to grow it out. You can see the gradation from here to the lightest point is very soft and subtle, yet it shows a beautiful transition. So if the client decides to put their hair up, or they decide to braid their hair, then they'll have that movement in the color. So what I like to do in order to accomplish this is start in the back of the head, and I like to do diagonal forward partings. The reason I start in the back is because that's where the darkest, most resistant hair is. So it may need a little bit longer to process, as well as being able to blend what you're trying to do. So when we take this diagonal forward parting, you can kind of see where I was able to paint the lightener onto the mannequin head. However, when it's styled, it's soft and subtle. Especially with a curly client, this is really important because a lot of the time they don't wear their hair straight. So you want to carve out their individual curl pattern. We also don't want to have to lift several levels in a session because the cuticle is already open and exposed. So we don't want to have to go in and blow the cuticle out to lift and give them the results they're looking for. It's really important during the consultation to talk to them about what they're trying to achieve and how it's going to compromise their hair during the process. When sectioning, I like to take the hair that I'm not dealing with and clip it out of the way and make a diagonal forward section almost like a triangle. I'll go back and forth to keep the hair even when I'm trying to lighten. So I'll take one section on the left and I'll go in, separate it. You can see where I did the brush strokes. You can just go ahead and go in and paint the hair, or you can go in and back comb, which is what I did on this mannequin. Back comb until you feel like you've got enough hair that's creating a pillow so that the hair doesn't lay on top of each other, so that the color isn't bleeding onto the next section. And it also allows for the natural base color to blend through whatever lightener you're putting on the hair. It's just an extra added feature to protect your style and making sure that everything blends the way you want it to. So when you take this section out, you're going to take your tint brush and you're going to create a V pattern. Another option is to do a starburst, which is to have more lightener towards the middle, but you need to make sure that you're brushing and evenly blending everything out. It's important not to have clumps of lightener on there. Having sort of a creamy paste consistency is what you're looking for. The reason is because when you're hand painting, anywhere you place the lightener is where you're going to get that lighter color. So it needs to look pretty when it's on the hair as well as when you rinse it out. I like to go from one side to the other. So first I'd do this side, then I would do the other side, and go all the way up until I get to the front part of the hair. Now, when you do that, as you go forward, if it takes a while, or if they have a lot of hair, you want to add a higher volume developer as you move towards the face. That way, the front develops the same as the back. And usually I only like to add about 5 volume more. So if I start with like a 20, then I'm going to go to 25. Or if I start with a 25, then I'm going to go to 30. Keep in mind this is an open air process a lot of time. You're not going to use a lot of foiling techniques. You can use foil or a thermal foil to try to make sure that the lightener doesn't dry out, but most of the time an open air process or just using a cellophane is enough. That's part of the beauty of this, is not to stress the hair like you would with a traditional foiling technique. As you move forward, sometimes the client likes to see a lot of light around their face. You want to make sure your pattern with that diagonal sectioning is moving upward so that the color is all around this area of the face and the head. This part is going to be traditionally more dark, and then the root is going to be the shadow area, and that's what creates the contrast. But as we move forward, if they want to see more blonding in this area, you can switch to sort of a traditional weaving technique where you weave out the hair, and then you can balayage your section. So we've got our triangular section here in the back, and we're going to just take a small section, pull down, and you can either do a weave technique where you take some of the hair out and balayage that, or you can just take a slicing technique, which is more popular. It's going to be more obvious, and you can paint the hair, the sections that you're trying to make blonder. Usually we like to do it on a V on the outside and then come together at the center. This is going to give you more of an ombre effect, or you can just create the lines if you don't want to have so much blonde at the bottom. We also can back comb here to create more of a pillow, and a lot more of the natural will blend into your lightener. As far as styling goes, this particular mannequin head, we wanted to do sort of a soft Hollywood wave. And in order to achieve that, when you're taking your sections, you could take just a regular square base. And you want to take the hair, wrap it around a wand or a marcel, like so, let it go, either drop it and let it cool, or you can actually pin the hair up like you would a roller set. You want to make sure either way that the hair cools completely before you brush or manipulate the hair. That just makes sure that whatever style you have is going to stay. You can back comb when you're doing each section to try to get more lift, especially if it's for a bride. So each particular section you can go underneath as you're releasing the curls and just do this to kind of shake it out, let the hair lift on top of each other. Or you can do that more at the top or the root to give them a little more volume. When you are ready to set the hair, you're going to use a boar bristle brush or a brush similar to this. Comb over the curls to make sure that they're all in the same pattern. You should be rolling in the same direction. So if you're going towards the face or away from the face, make sure that every single section is rolled in the same direction. Otherwise, you're not going to get that cohesive pattern. When you are ready to set your curls, you can spray with whatever kind of dry texture spray that you want, dry hairspray. Spray the hair. You can use the bottle to actually smooth down the hair, and that just helps. Or you can use the tail end of a comb if that's what you have. Spray, slide over the hair to smooth any flyaways that you might have. That's just going to help to encourage the hair to stay in the same pattern, and it's going to set any flyaways that you have. If you have someone who tends to like layering in their hair, you may have a little bit more open pieces on the bottom. You can use some sort of a shine oil or some sort of texture taffy and just seal the ends by twisting, and that will help to smooth that down. Or you can leave it if they like a little bit more textured look. Either way is trendy and will work just fine.